everyone, welcome to Scott Reviews Things in 4.5 minutes. And what am I looking at this time? I am looking at the Christmas episode of the first season of MASH called Dear Dad. And if you're a fan of MASH, you know throughout the series, Hawkeye would write home to his dad, and the title of the show would always be Dear Dad or Dear Dad Again or whatever. And it was a nice framing device for the show. Usually a show had a straight narrative. When you had Dear Dad shows, it was just picking and choosing stuff that happened. It was like a variety show of a sitcom. You get a little scene here, you get a little scene here, a little scene here. You know what I'm talking about. Well, this one was set at Christmas time. So this was really the first Christmas episode of MASH. And I will say this. There were only 3 Christmas episodes of MASH. And I don't know if they did this on purpose, but the show was on for 11 years about the Korean conflict. That only lasts 2.5 years. So technically, you could have had 3 Christmases in those 2.5 years. And they did. There were not a lot of Christmas episodes over the 11 years. And this was the first one, Dear Dad. And there's a couple. It's not a Christmas episode per se. It is an episode that takes place at Christmas. They have some Christmas elements in it. The biggest Christmas element is where Hawkeye is dressed as Santa Claus, and he has to go into combat and make an emergency surgery on a corporal that's been hit. And if you look very closely at that scene, you see a very young William Catt. That's right. The greatest American hero makes a cameo, one of his first acting roles in this episode. And even though it's not a Christmas episode, it has a really nice scene about just everybody being on edge in Korea at Christmas time between Corporal Klinger, Jamie Farr, and Father Mulcahy, William Christopher, where Klinger and Major Burns get into a fight, and Klinger is just going to take a grenade. And it's a very nice, very powerful scene between those two. And Klinger is not dressed in drag, which was his deal during the show. He dressed in drag for the first 4 or 5 seasons of the show to get out of the army. He wasn't in drag, and I thought that was a good thing, because I thought if he was dressed in drag, it may undercut the dramatic tone of that scene, and it wasn't. And just to see, and what the thing was, this was a great scene, and at the time, between 2 minor actors on the show, William Christopher and Jamie Farr, were not in the titles of the show yet. They were minor characters in the show. So that's, the people who made this show had so much confidence in the people that they hired, that they gave these 2, at the time, low-level characters, this very, very intense, very, very dramatic scene. And it works. Both William Christopher and Jamie Farr pull it off. The other standout scene in the show, it's Henry Blake having to make a sex talk. And McLean Stevenson was always one of my favorite comedic actors. And I loved him as Henry Blake on the show. And I was sad when he left. And he never really gained, the fame and acclaim that he deserved after he left MASH. But there's this one scene where he has to give a sex scene. He has to give a sex speech to the enlisted men. And Trapper is there, and Hawkeye is there, and they're heckling him. And it's very, very funny, and it shows the comedic timing of McLean Stevenson as Henry Blake. There's also, and there's 2 or 3 other stories shifting out through there, but if you're looking for a Christmas episode, this is not the episode for you. It's not, because, like I said, there's only really specks of Christmas. It's just set at Christmas time. It's a very, very solid episode.
P.S. Dad, almost forgot to wish a Merry Christmas from everyone at MASH. Trapper McIntyre, Henry Blake, even Frank Burns. Hot Lips Houlihan, future used car dealer Radar O'Reilly, Ginger Bayless,